Hey, what's up? So today we're going to check out the brand new Bogren Digital BDH bundle, 3 one-knob amp plugins that you're going to want to check out. So stay tuned. So if you were privy to the original one-knob amp offering from Bogren Digital, the Rev C, well then you already know that this concept is pretty cool, and it just makes dialing in a tone not much of a chore at all, because you don't really have to dial in anything. It's literally just one knob. You can turn it up, turn it down, however much gain you like. So in these new plugins, what they've done is they've taken 3 generations of the 5150 style amp and put them into 3 different one knob plugins that you can put into a mix, make how you want, with very minimal effort. So we're going to quickly go through all 3 of them and kind of see what they've added to these one knob concept amplifiers to kind of take them to the next level. So the first in this trio of one knob amps is something based on the original block letter 5150. So the next amp on tap here is something based off of the 6505 Plus, only this one happens to be slightly modified, and I'll tell you that this, out of the 3, is probably the most gain-heavy plugin. And lastly, we have an ultra-modern 5153. And to me, this is probably the tightest version of the 5150 in this bundle. So let's quickly go over some of the added features on these versions of the 1 amp knob concept that you don't have with the Rev C, but now you do with these 5150 style amps. First off, you have a pedal button. Now what this is basically a boost pedal or an overdrive pedal that you can activate that acts as the second gain stage before the amp. And so just like any other amp that you might, put a boost in front of, you actually have the option of boosting the amp, and this is one of those things that's really cool because it doesn't really cause you to have to sit there and tweak anything. You just literally are getting extra gain. And it actually works out pretty well if you disengage it and you want a little bit more of a crunch tone, scale the gain back. Or even more. But then you want to go full metal mode, engage that pedal. And it doesn't just add a ton of gain to the actual signal. What it's actually doing is just giving you that little bit of a boost, and you can still pump up the gain, and get really, really saturated. So the other added feature to these one knob plugins that you don't get with the Rev C, which I think is an invaluable addition and makes this just, takes it to the next level, is you no longer have to roll with the matched cab. And even though the matched cab sounds good, you know, I think they sound great, you can load your own custom IR. And, you know, for the purposes of, you know, whatever IRs you like to use, I'll just go ahead and pick a Bogren digital one right now. Let's go with the down-tuned IR. You know, swap it out, open it up like any other IR capture or any other IR loader, and you can get a whole different sound. I mean, it's just one of those nice additions that on the Rev C I always felt was a little bit limited, but now with these you have the option to switch them out for whatever you want. And honestly, beyond that, there's not much else to say about what these do. They're so simple and so straightforward that I don't have to sit there and do a deep dive into anything about, you know, what the features are here. You have an input and output, on, off, that pedal, gain, your IRs. If you want, you know, we can talk about input mode, mono, stereo, preferences. You know, these are things that are pretty standard on most plugins, but, you know, this isn't about the tone tweaking. This is just about the setup. You have a noise gate, your thresholds here. I mean, it's just so straightforward. It's almost, you know, idiot-proof, and I should know. So now what I want to do is show you a mix that I came up with, and it's not just any run-of-the-mill mix that I came up with. Bogren Digital's actually putting together a Riff contest, you know, to go along with this release. And well, I decided that I was going to get in on that. So I went ahead and I took their drum track and I put my own riff to it and I mixed it down, kind of put my own flavor on some of the stock drum sounds that they provided in their WAV file. And, you know, I used all 3 amps and you'll get to hear what they sound like now. So that contest and all the information can be found in a video that I'm going to link up here somewhere, or over here, I guess. I'll even put it down in the description. And if you want to get in on that, go for it. Seems pretty fun. So I hope you could hear in that mix how these amps kind of blend in. They have their own different flavor. And if you had any trouble discerning kind of any nuances between the different plugins in the mix, I get it. It's a full mix. It's got mastering plugins and blah, blah, blah. So I went ahead and I isolated the guitar tracks so you could hear what they sound like without any of the other context. And I think you'll hear quite a big difference. So yeah, in isolation, big difference between the amps. If I had to give an opinion about the 3, I would say that the 5153, the ultra modern style amp was probably my favorite, especially for mixing. The 6505 Plus is just a beast of a sound, really gainy, really probably good for really low tune stuff. And then the 5150 block letter style amp, I mean, that is just a classic sound, and it actually did pretty well in the mix too. I really liked it. When I first got these earlier this week, I was messing around with the standalone amps, and I thought for sure the 6505 Plus was my favorite. I was like, oh, that is the sound. And I had the 5153 kind of like as a close second, and I kind of put the block letter kind of to the back and was like, that's cool. But once I actually put them in a mix, I kind of switched up my order here, and I really do think that the 5150 block letter sits in a mix just a little bit better than that 6505 Plus. I think the 6505 Plus is probably my favorite thing to kind of play around with on its own in isolation, but once I started putting it into, context with drums and everything else, it was a little bit less of an easy to work with sound, whereas the 5153, super tight, super clean. Everything about that one is just like perfection in terms of like mixing modern metal. But that 5150, man, that block letter has something to it that I just really like. Just something a little bit different that I would utilize, going forward. And with that said, I just want to say the concept of the single knob is something that I think we should see more of, and I think we will see more of, especially from Bogren Digital. I was wondering this week why I was having so much damn fun playing with these 3 plugins, whereas other plugins I like them and I use them and they're cool, but this was different, and I was like, what is it about these? They sound great, obviously. But I have other plugins that sound really good too, maybe just as good. But it hit me right before I started this video. I'm having so much damn fun because I'm not messing with anything, trying to get a sound. I literally have the sound there, and I'm just able to play. That's why it's fun. So that's why these types of plugins, and these ones especially, get them because they're fun as hell and they don't take anything to sit there and get a great tone. So that was my spiel, and hopefully you guys had fun listening, and hopefully I win the contest. No, I don't know. We'll see. But, I'll be posting that video as a separate video for the contest purposes here in a couple days. So look out for that. See you next time.